Outer Orange.
Привет! Have you ever wanted to meet the first place Chaos player and know exactly everything about their deck and why they took it? Well, today is your lucky day. Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, welcome in.
My name is Kusha. I'm part of Team Fullbringer that won first place at Duluth Springfest.
Is this your first official top?
No, I'm topped in Springfest before, but it's my first time not actually getting first place. I got like top 8 before.
What deck did you bring today?
I brought Kheios.
You know there's like a whole kind of uproar about it right now, right?
Yeah.
The cards are actually getting like straight up bought out.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
No, the plan was to get it bought out. I wanted to screw over as many people as I could.
That's so funny. Why did you pick Chaos?
I picked Kheios because, well, it's a long story. So basically when Kheios got a new card revealed, I had a feeling it'd be extremely good. They're gonna probably make this deck OP. So I got the SPs, everything. And then out of curiosity, I looked at a bunch of YouTubers' deck lists. And I thought they weren't building it optimally. I never played Kheios before, but I disagreed with their certain card choices. I'll get into what they ran, why I didn't think it was great. So I was like, I think the deck is C tier because no one built it right. Tried it online, and the first game I played was against Chronojet, and I slaughtered Chronojet. I was like, alright, that's really good first run. Played against a bunch of other meta decks. It just kept winning, and I called my teammate Tyson to tell him like, Chaos is the best, one of the most underrated decks ever, and he didn't believe me. And the week before Springfest, I was trying to convince him like, let's bring Chaos. So the original plan was I was gonna use Chronojet and he was gonna use either Minerva or Lutetia. He asked me, do you think Chaos is better than Lutetia and Minerva? And I said yes. And everyone knows how strong of a deck they both are. And he agreed to do a best 3 out of 5. So if I beat him, I was supposed to be allowed to bring Chaos. So the night before, we did the match, and Tyson's a really good player. He's been to Worlds, and he's used the original Minerva like over 9 or 10 years ago. So he's very experienced with Minerva. And I straight 2-0'd him, and in the third round, well, before there could be a round 3, I said, do we even need to go on? And then things got really heated, because he's like, no, I still think Minerva's the better deck. I thought he was going back on his word, so things actually got pretty heated. He decided to let me go through with it, and I really appreciate Tyson. He's very good. I would never have topped without him. But I actually didn't tell my third teammate Brian either. I was like, I'm not gonna do this best 3 out of 5 again. Like, I swear if Brian's like, I don't care if you beat Tyson, prove it to me. So I was like, I'm not gonna waste all my stamina the night before. So in line during Springfest or Team League, whatever, I was like, oh, by the way, Brian, do you know what deck I'm running? He's like, Chronojet, right? I was like, no. I'm building Chaos. Trust me, it's good. I brought Chaos. Trust me, it's good. I promise you, it's good.
Oh my god.
And he's like, yeah, I believe you. And then later on, he told me, yeah, no, I did not believe you at all. But he watched my matches, and he's like, oh shit, this is a really good deck. So I shocked Brian. I don't blame either of them for thinking Chaos is bad. Even during the event, someone walked up to me and said, you're playing Chaos? That deck is shit. And then walked away. And I wasn't mad or anything. That's just like the current state of like how Chaos is viewed. And every person, almost every person I told at the event I'm running Chaos was like, Chaos? And I just had to be like, why? I just tell them this is more consistent Baro Magnus with a worse Vanguard skill. That's just like I could go into depth later on if you guys want on the differences. There's both positive and negatives between Baro Magnus and this deck. I was happy I brought Chaos. It was a surprise and it performed exactly how I expected it to.
Yeah, what was your record in Swiss?
So my record in Swiss is X and 3, but my losses were, it wouldn't have mattered what deck I was playing. If you get double crit, you just die.
Yeah,
if the OT screws you over. Like, it wasn't the deck's fault.
Yeah.
I would have lost those even if I ran Chronojet.
That's understandable.
Top 8, I went undefeated. And in top 8, I didn't get double crit. I didn't get OT didn't screw me over. I didn't get miracle healed. None of the garbage happened. So then I swept everyone. Everyone's really good too. Played against a really good prison player. He only lost to me that day, and he was player A. I was player A as well. That means he played a bunch of meta decks with Prison and just beat everyone. Like Shadows to pair, he was really good. But Kheios, if you go first against Prison, it has a very strong matchup against Prison. The exact opposite if you go second, but thank God I rolled higher than him at the start. So you can just beat the deck before they ride grade 4. Top 4 I played against Chronojet, and I'm 99% sure he checked OT the turn-year-old grade 3, but I didn't care. I beat him before he even got to stride. I didn't even check OT, I didn't double crit him. The deck just sweeps Chronojet pretty easily. He was my 4th Chronojet I played that whole day. I beat 3 out of the 4. The only one I lost to was the only one that double crit me. The final match I played against Overlord, and it was the only game the whole tournament I drove check an OT. So I already played him in Swiss. He was one of my losses. I felt bad because in Swiss, his OT screwed me over, and the final match, my OT screwed him over. So we never had an OT-less match, but it is what it is.
That was so far very insightful. Let's go ahead and get into the deck and just see how that performs.
So you have to run the ride chain, obviously. The only skill I'll explain, oh actually one key point, you have to run the starter. You need the Kheios name. Alright, I'll explain the Vanguard skill. You cannibalize 1, discard a card, check top 3, and add 1 to hand, and you could call up to 1 to field, and then you put 1 to soul. So the up to 1 to field means you can actually decide to just put 2 cards into soul instead of just calling that 1 rearguard. So if you need the extra soul, this can get you 2 soul just off the counterblast skill if you really wanted to. The other skill is if you have 8 unique card names in soul, when you attack with Vanguard, you can pick 1 rearguard and give it plus 10k. If you have 13 in soul, you give all 5 rearguards plus 10k power instead of just 1 rearguard. I ran 5 crit, and they each have to be a different name. I ran 4 heal, but one of them is the one that gets extra shield if your opponent has an extra crit through a skill. This was specifically for the Ava match. I didn't play Ava the whole day. So,
That was actually pretty funny.
but it's okay. In matches that it's useless, I just discard it either through for ride up or through a grade 3 Kheios skill. So even if you get trash cards, you could just pitch them later. 1 front, because it gets the extra 5k shield. In the whole 10 rounds of the event, this never once came up, the extra shield, but throughout all the online testing, yes, this actually did come up. So that's why I'm hesitant to take it out. If you guys decide to run an extra crit instead, I understand. I'm just gonna keep it as is. This is the most controversial of it. It's 5 draws and only 1 of them has the extra shield. The rest are just the 5k draw triggers. And yes, it feels disgusting, but shockingly, even though they have less shield, it actually almost never comes up. Throughout the 10 rounds I played, the lower amount of shield didn't actually even matter. I generally just pitched it for Kheios grade 3 skill, or for ride up or for PG fodder. It was actually perfectly fine, and even the 5k base power actually surprisingly mattered. I put it underneath the Kheios, my Vanguard, and because the Vanguard gives plus 10k to all rear guards, this became a 15k booster. So a 5k trash shield card became 15k booster, so it's pretty good. And the non-crit elemental dark states OT, obviously. Alright. This is 4 Mikanis. I'm sure a lot of people run it in other decks not the deck that's actually meant for, which is Kheios. So on place, you may soul charge 1. Remember, it's you may, so you don't have to deck yourself out if you don't want to. The other skill is you can move to soul and get a grade 3 Mikani and call it to rearguard. And actually, it's up to 1. So sometimes you need to increase your soul by 1 more. So you can just put it under your Vanguard and call nothing and just get 1 extra soul. So yeah, that's good. This is a card that no Kheios player I've talked to for some reason runs it at a 4-up. I'm like the only one I know that runs it at a 4-up. So this is a card that is so good, Baro Magnus runs it in the ride line. But for some reason, no Kheios player besides me has been running it as a 4-up. So the skill is in Soul you bind it and you Soul Charge 2. The reason why this works well is because it scales off your Brainwash Swirlers. Like your Brainwash Swirlers scale well with it. You always need extra Soul throughout every way you Soul Charge. Every different method you have to Soul Charge is key. This helps you reach certain Soul numbers because there's so many 1-ofs in the deck. It's practically like it's almost guaranteed that when you bind this, you'll Soul Charge 2 different names. So this is a wonderful card, and even it's not even that bad to just call it if you have nothing else, because Kheios Vanguard skill will make it an 18k booster. So this carries the deck, in my opinion. This is the only order you should ever run in this deck. The other, I'll explain in depth why later, why the other Kheios order is just bad. But this order skill is, if you have a Vanguard with Kheios in its name, counterblast 1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to the same number of cards from among them as the number of cards in your soul with Kheios with different card names, put them in your soul, shuffle your deck. Then if your soul has 8 or more different cards, choose up to 1 card from your soul, call it to rearguard. Choose one of your rearguards with Mikane's card name and it gets power plus 10k. Later on, I'll show you all the different tricks and combos with the deck. It basically deck thins, increases the soul count, powers up your Mikane, and the Mikanes restand. So this does everything for the deck. It's the card you want to mulligan for sure. 2 Brainwash Swirler. The reason why I don't run more is because I'm scared. It's because of my risk tolerance. I'm actually scared of if I Soul Charge 3 or 4, and because they all have the same name, I screw myself over. And I'll show you later on how big the numbers can get without even drawing into your swirlers or superior calling your swirlers. But these are really good when you do get them. I've been able to swing for over 90k in one of the 10 rounds. I swung for over 100k because of the Brainwash Swirlers. So this is called Diaphragm Amidine. Its skill is when you have 10 cards or more in Soul, it gets plus 10k. And the other skill is Act, Counterblast 1. Whenever you Soul Charge a card with a skill, you Soul Charge 1 extra. So if you would Soul Charge 2 off the ponies, you actually Soul Charge 3. If you Soul Charge 1 off Swirler, it actually be 2. So it makes Swirlers bigger. It makes the pony just way better. And I think of it as a pseudo Brainwash Swirler because it becomes a 28k booster with Kheios grade 3 skill. Just like garbage Brainwash Swirler, it's just like a different name. That's why I have Gungungram. If you are more risk tolerant, you could swap it for a Brainwash Swirler, but I'm more risk adverse, so that's why I just kept this as a 1-up instead of Swirler. I like this card better than the card I just showed you. This is Ling. Ling skill is check top 2 cards of deck, put 1 in soul, put 1 in bottom. So this deck shuffles a lot because of the order. The order shuffles your deck. So it's nice to Soul Charge non-triggers, then you shuffle your deck later. So this helps you hit triggers later. And it helps you increase soul count. Yes, you need to run every single PG you can. There are different names. So yeah, sadly you need one of each. Yes, I recommend the Sanctitude. It helped me a lot. I only run 3 grade 2s in the whole deck, and one of them's in the right chain. So there's a reason for that. There's a reason why I run these cards. So I'll just show you them both at once because they're very similar. This card's skill is if you have 6 or more in soul, you could boost with this card. So it's nice. It's a 10k booster, right? And then if you have 12 or more in soul, it gets plus 10k. When you have 13 in soul because of grade 3 Kheios skill, this is only a 30k booster. So, and this is similar to this one. This is if you have 8 or more cards with different names, it gets boost and plus 5k. So this is 15k, and becomes 25k when this skill is fully active. So a 25k booster and a 30k booster. So I think of these as another pseudo Brainwash Swirlers because of the how big they get, and you could go rush with them and then later on move it to back row. I'll explain why you want the grade 2s to be able to move to back row and boost, because when I get to the grade 3s, I guess I'll show you. for Mikani's. So Mikani's skill is you can counter blast 1 and soul blast 1 card and retire a card with the same name, same grade as the card you soul blasted when this card is on place. So a lot of people will assume you actually don't use the counter blast and soul blast cost that often because you want high soul count, but no, actually you use this quite a lot, and there's a lot of tricks I'll go into later and like when you should use it, but you actually should use the skill pretty frequently. And the last skill is when your Vanguard attacks, you have 8 or more cards with different names, you can just restand it, and then at the end of the turn, this goes to soul. So you get 5 attacks if you attack with them first and you have 8 or more in soul, then these restand. At the end of the turn, they go to soul. So you need to get 5 attacks as often as you can, and you should get 5 attacks each time when you ride grade 3. The deck is good because you're getting 5 attacks as soon as you ride grade 3. It is devastating when your opponent's at grade 2 to just suddenly deal with 5 attacks. Especially the attacks are for big numbers later on too, for grade 3s. So you want to be able to persona ride if you can, but you only need a persona ride once. So if you ever have like 3 in the starting hand, you can put 2 in the bottom of your deck of mulligan for others, because this deck you generally win by turn 4. This is a glass cannon deck. You don't need to persona ride multiple times, and even if you somehow live to turn 5, the Vanguard skill powers up your rear guard so much you win even without persona ride. So you only need a persona ride once. I'll explain what some of the YouTubers are running and why they're bad or not optimal. One is Song of Extolment Can Be Heard. This card is, if you have a Vanguard Kheios in its name, you could choose one of your Vanguards against plus 10k, then you put 3 normal units from your drop zone to soul, and then put this card in the bottom of your deck. The reason why this is bad is because always be only playing this order instead of this. This deck thins, this decreases the number of triggers in deck because it adds a card to the bottom of your deck. This gives you a -1 when you play it. This evens out, and it gives you flexibility. So a card that negs you only gives power to Vanguard. This gives power to restanding rear guard. There's never been any game I've ever played, whether in testing or in the tournaments, that I've ever wanted this card. It is one of the worst cards I've seen Chaos players running. It's completely useless. Just throw it away. This card is beyond trash, even worse than the card I just showed you. And people play this card. So when this card's placed on rear guard, you reveal the top card of your deck. If there's no cards in the soul with the same name as the revealed card, you soul charge 1. Alright, the reason why this is bad, because 1, the skill might fail, 2, you want grade 2s that aren't vanilla after their effect is done. So after you place it, it's done. That's it. You really gotta run this card just for 1 soul charge, and it doesn't synergize with the deck at all. As soon as you hit grade 3, you want your front row to be this. So are you just gonna move this to back row? But then that doesn't even synergize either, because you want boosters, because Chaos gives even the back row power. So this becomes completely useless. It'll actually hinder you. You have so many better cards to run in dark states, and then people run this. This card's bad too, but at least the art's nice. So this is Amazing Frost. When this unit is placed on rear guard, soul blast 1, draw a card, then choose a card from your hand, put it into your soul. Then if your soul has 8 or more cards with different card names, this unit gets plus 5k until end of turn. If your soul has 10 or more, it gets plus 20k. So people run this to get a big beater, but again, it's useless because you want your front row at all times, as soon as you hit grade 3, to be these. So this, you don't even want this in front row, so you don't even care if it gets power. So then when you move it to back row, it's useless. So if it interferes with your plan to get 5 attacks, I wouldn't run any card that interferes with the 5 attacks, basically. And this is one of them. People run this, I guess, because they saw it in Baro Magnus, and then they decided to run it in Chaos. But basically, Selfish Engraver, the skill is when the attack hits, soul charge 1, and at the end of the turn, at the end of the battle this attack, if your soul has 10 or more cards, put this unit into soul and counter charge 1. You actually don't even need to counter charge at all, in the deck. And again, like I keep saying, you want your front row to be these. You want 5 attacks. You don't care about the stupid counter charge. Like you only have 4 turns basically to beat your opponent, or else you lose. This card, I've seen people running too. This isn't Gear Chronicle. This amazing magician is when it attacks, you may soul charge 1. Again, you don't want a card that interferes with the 5 attacks. This is one of them. This is like a different version of the same card. The skill is when this attacks Vanguard, you may soul charge 1. The other is when it attacks anything. So already this card is actually worse than the other one. And the other skill is Act Soul Blast, Counter Blast 1. Put this unit in drop zone. This is Soul skill, by the way. And then you may give your Vanguard plus 10k power. This is bad. Again, you want the 5 attacks, and even if you have this in Soul, it's okay. Your Vanguard hits such filth high numbers, plenty of times over 38k plus, 40 something plus, just based off the boosters you have. It's okay, you don't need this. Alright, this card is less bad than all the ones I showed you, but it's still bad. So, this is Ultrasound Siri? I don't know, Siri, like, when this unit is placed, Counterblast 1, look at the top card of your deck, and, top 3 cards of your deck, choose a card from among them, put 1 into the Soul, shuffle your deck, and if your Soul has 4 more cards with different card names, draw a card. Alright, so, this is only really useful turn 2, because again, you want your front row to be these as soon as you hit turn 3. So then, after turn 2, right, then you have to move it to back row, and then you want boosters, right? Because the Vanguard scales well, boosters scale well with Chaos skill. So then you have to call over it. So the +1 you even get becomes
Break even.
You break even. So then this skill basically becomes Counterblast 1 to break even and get 1 soul from the top 3, and that's just not a good use of soul. Good use of Counterblast. This card I considered. So this is Steve Maiden Ashur Daw. If your soul has 7 or more cards, this unit gets plus 5k shield, and whenever you guard with it, you can just move this to soul at the end of the battle. So when I thought about it, I just thought it's just a worse version of this. This gets plus 5k shield anyways, and it boosts. So this is just a card I'm gonna keep in hand whole game until I guard with it. I'd rather get something more versatile. That's why my grade 2 boost. I can understand why people might run this, but it's okay. You don't even need the extra 5k shield. The 5k shield from this doesn't even come up, but the boost does. There's a garbage tier one. It's when this unit is placed on rear guard, put a card from your hand into soul and draw a card. Again, this is a grade 3, so you can only call it when you're at grade 3, by the way. So again, you want your front row to be this at all times. So what is this doing after you use the skill? It's just gonna be vanilla. It's just gonna get in the way of everything. I got a question about this, about the Gradle. This is if you didn't persona right, you act as if you persona rolled card, and because you run orders that you always want to use this, it doesn't synergize well. And even if you don't persona right, the deck hits such high numbers, it's okay. So any deck that if you need to use an order, I don't think it synergizes well with the Gradle. I don't know whatever it's called.
The Chalice. Some people call it Chalice.
Yeah. I'm getting to the less bad cards. Alright. It's actually a pretty good card. Quenlu's skill is you put this in Soul, choose one of your rear guards, it gets plus 2k power. Then if your Soul has 7 or more cards, your opponent cannot call grade 1s or greater cards from the hand to Guardian Circle for the battle that this rear guard attacked. So basically it's guard restrict, and I'm assuming you could probably use it on one of the Mikanis. The thing is, it is good. I didn't find space for it personally, and there hasn't been a game where I really hoped I had Quenlu in hand. It just hasn't come up, surprisingly. I considered running it, but after so many games, I was like, Quenlu wasn't the reason I lost or won a game. I can understand if you guys decide to run it. I'm personally not gonna keep her, but she's viable. I've seen some people run this card. I even considered running it. I tested it out. This card is Cutting Sword Dance Ki Hagra. When this unit is placed on rearguard, perform all the following according to number of cards in Soul. 7 or more counterblocks 1, discard a card. Choose a card from your soul and add it to hand, then you soul charge 1. Then if you have 13 or more, all your front row gets plus 5k. So the reason why I had it in my deck initially, but then I took it out, was because I hated that it was on play skill. I like to rush people with this deck. So a grade 2 that I can't rush people, I didn't like that much. And this skill only came up a few times. I preferred it was only useful a few times. I preferred a card that was useful all the time. That's why the grade 2s I got were the booster ones rather than this. But I can understand if people decide to run it, because you can add a PG from Soul, for example, to hand, or a Persona Ride copy, but it wasn't useful in enough games for me to justify running it.
I have a question. Did you ever have an issue where these got snipes or anything, and it caused it to make it harder for you to play, like any like retire focus stuff? Did you bump into any of that kind of stuff? Since they're like one-ofs, but they're like really important one-ofs.
I don't really care. I have so many strong boosters, so it's okay. Like, I try to fill the deck with as many strong boosters as possible. Like,
yeah.
This is a a 28k booster with
swirler.
Yeah, swirler. This got plus 50k 50k plus boost. Sometimes it was like crazy. So these are pseudo swirlers in my opinion, but because they're 10k base, you can rush people with it when they're on grade 2.
Okay. I was curious.
No, it was a good question. Yeah. Should I go on to tips and tricks?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Tips and tricks.
All right. A lot of people suspected you can rush with the deck pretty well. So, all right. So you can actually call a board like this. It looks disgusting, right? 2 grade 1s, 16k, right? But it's okay. You swing, whatever, swing with everything. But then at the end of at the start of your next turn, you move this to soul later, and then get a grade 3. So you fixed your field, and then you can move this to back row next turn. All right. So when you use this order, let's say, so you go put cards in soul, then you get superior call 1. You obviously need another Mikani grade 3, but you don't have one in hand. You use this, and normally, I guess a lot of weaker, less experienced players would call Mikani this way, using the skill. But if you're a little bit more experienced than that, you actually call this first, and give power to Mikani, if you use the order, and then move this to soul. And then when you call it, you soul charge 1 off the skill. Then you move it to soul, then get your Mikani. You got 1 extra soul than doing otherwise. And I'll do a turn showing how big this the columns will be without swirlers. Let's say you Persona Road. This is your turn 4. Pretend you have whatever, 13 in soul. Use this order to call a Mikani. The Mikani gains 10k, and it got 10k from Persona riding, so it's 33 right now. And then you call another Mikani. Because you Persona rolled, this got 10k. If you have more than 12 soul, this gets 10k. This gets 5k. And this gets 10k from Roland skill. So I'll show you guys how big you can hit without the swirlers. So you swing for 23k first, then a 33k, which is extremely hard to guard. Then you swing with Vanguard, restand these, every single thing gets another 10k. I need to do math.
23, 33, 38, plus another 10, 48.
So yeah, 48k event. Then you hit a heal trigger, or then another 3k. This is one trigger for this example. Another 10k here. So then you swing for 21 plus 50 is 71k. Then you swing for 23 plus 50, 73k. So 71k, 73k, all without even a single brainwash swirler. I've seen people with 7-card hands just collapse, because how can you go 71 and 73k with the amount of shield you have in standard?
Pretty disgusting.
And you can get even bigger numbers with the swirlers.
Yes.
Why would you run this over Baro Magnus? If you read this card and read Baro Magnus, this card doesn't get crit, it doesn't board wipe. Why would you run it? The reason why is, even if you have 8 soul, you get 5 attacks. So it's more consistent, Also, the ride chain, I didn't really go over it, but the ride chain is better than Baro Magnus because it gives you a +1 usually. Baro Magnus ride chain doesn't plus you at all. Furthermore, this deck thins for triggers. You're getting 5 attacks at a much lower soul threshold than Baro Magnus. If Baro Magnus can get 15 soul every single game, the turn they ride grade 3, it would be the best deck in the format, but it doesn't. It can't, it'll sometimes break. But if you only get 8 soul in this deck, you can slaughter people. So that's why it's more consistent. Baro Magnus does have cards that shuffle cards back into deck, so at least you're less scared of decking out. And it does have crit and it does have board wipe. So it does have its advantages. They're both good decks, but if you value consistency more, then I would think Kheios would be a better choice for you. Okay, what about future matchups? It's a 10 decks. So I'll play this against Jeweled Mask, and the Jeweled Mask player Rage Quit. I'll play this against Unica Mask. The Unica Mask player vowed revenge on me. So even against future decks, this deck can perform well. It is a glass cannon deck, so it does have the same glass cannon weaknesses as all glass cannon decks, but it is a good deck. I think if you guys are tired of losing to Chronojet, this has the best chance of beating Chronojet out of any deck in Standard. So if you want to try something fresh and unique, I would recommend Kheios.
I'm not gonna lie, you got me interested.
I'm happy. Yeah.
I've been watching this, I'm like, this is actually really cool. I like it. Any shout outs or anyone you wanna?
So, I just wanted to shout out all my opponents at the team league. You're all amazing players. You're all very respectful, amazing to talk to. Special shout out to Perry, the Princeton player. I'm so happy I high rolled and went first against you. You're an amazing player, by the way. I hope I get a run it back with each and every one of you. Special thanks to Brian and Tyson. I would not have been able to win team league without them. They are extremely good.
Hi, Brian.
Hey.
I guess he doesn't want to be on camera. Yeah. Oh, so I guess you didn't want to be on camera.
No.
Oh, okay.
He's just chilling.
For all the Chronojet haters like me, try this.
All right, I guess we'll finish it off there. Thank you so much for coming on my channel today, Kusha. Thank you for being here with me and, just for agreeing to all this. I really appreciate it. So we're going to head it off there. Peace out, guys. До свидания. And I'll see you guys in a future video. Bye.